Welcome back, vinyl community. Got an update for you, some new finds. What we got right now on deck, Roy Cousins and the Royals, a tune called Only Jah Knows. Feeling all right. The track called Only Jah Knows is off a landmark album called Pick Up the Pieces. This is a 1979 pressing on the Ballistic imprint out of the UK, sub-label of United Artists. There's a label there. It was originally released in 1977 in Jamaica, with the tracks recorded over a few years previous. The group actually dated back to the early 60s ska days, formed by Roy Cousins with kind of a revolving membership around him. Even an early cut of the success was elusive for them at first. Even an original cut of the title track, Pick Up the Pieces, was recorded at Studio One, was not released at the time. This was not an uncommon occurrence. Finally, when Roy took matters in his own hands, started producing his own music and releasing it on his own labels, and recorded a second version of Pick Up the Pieces, Larry Marshall actually found the original cut on a tape, the late Larry Marshall, and released it again. Apparently both versions were a hit. But finally, this album appeared in 1977. All the songs crafted as singles. There's Roy there. And Roy had a full-time job at the Jamaican Post Office. He was able to take his time, finance his sessions. He wasn't in a rush to crank some tracks out as many of the other producers were at the time. He could record bring in the singers he wanted, the musicians he wanted, take his time on the arrangements, and it shows in the music. This is rated as an essential album by the Rough Guide to Reggae. Just one of the absolute finest Jamaican roots harmony albums. I'm going to give you one more track here. This is called Peace and Love. Sounds of Roy Cousins and the Royals. First discovered this album through the Pressure Sounds reissue from 2002. Very happy to add that to my collection now on vinyl. Distinctive light lisp of Roy Cousins on the vocals there. Had some more finds recently I'll share with you. First off, I got to give a shout out to DJ Trish, of course. Trish Mullins sent me some more of her fabulous mixes a couple of weeks back. Some 2018 mixes. Usual diverse mix of stuff. Thank you once again, Trish. Always amazed by your generosity. Be sure and check DJ Trish out. Had a few CD finds also just the other day. After a long drought, I struck some stuff at the thrift store. I'll just run through these quickly. There was a whole collection of kind of more recent modern rock stuff. It's always kind of interesting when those show up in the thrift store. It's kind of a great way to pick up some stuff cheaply. But I got the Decemberists, Picaresque. Leonard Cohen, recent songs. That one's from '79. Lana Del Rey, Born to Die, 2 CD edition. Animal Collective, Merriweather Post Pavilion. 9 Inch Nails, Pretty Hate Machine. Actually, made me surprised, but I have that one on vinyl. It was a thrift find for me quite a few years ago. Actually, not my typical listening, but I don't mind it. Tim Buckley, Going to LA, have that one on vinyl as well. This was kind of a cool one. The Guess Who, It's Time. It's actually, I think, their third album in the mid-60s. Cool find there. And the Sheepdogs. 5 easy pieces. If you don't know the Sheepdogs, they are from the prairie provinces of Canada, but you'd think they were from down south, from the stomping grounds of the Allman Brothers and Lynyrd Skynyrd and stuff like that. Just hairy, sweaty, 70s kind of rock and roll. Okay, on to some more finds. Some vinyl finds. Found this one in the cheap bins of one of my local stores. It's from 1970. It is Red Eye. I'd seen this one shown a couple of times in the vinyl community, which is how I knew what it was. It's on the Pentagram label, kind of cool label. Basically kind of late 60s, early 70s country rock. There's quite a bit of that swampy CCR kind of sound on here, and also some quite nice group harmony arrangements, a bit reminiscent of the Crosby, Stills and Nash sound. Cool cover design. Thrift finds. Also at the same time I found those CDs. Found a few vinyl LPs after a long drought for the first part of the year. I had this one already. This is an upgrade copy. Frank Sinatra album. It's got the duet with daughter Nancy. I'm a sucker for all things Nancy. Something Stupid. I had this one already with a nice copy in the shrink, but the vinyl on this one is better condition. And when I looked inside, there was a bit of a surprise in here. If I can find it. Came with this flyer from a local radio station, CFMI 101.1. Used to listen to that station. And it's got a list of the top 500 songs that they did in 1979. They must have done some kind of countdown, top 50 songs of, or top 500 songs of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Always liked those kind of lists when I was first getting into music. Number 1 position is Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel. I'm not sure if I agree with that. And number 2 is Elvis's Don't Be Cruel. Number 3, Stairway to Heaven. Of course, all those songs were heavily played on radio at the time, so kind of cool to find that. Also found Both Sides of Herman's Hermits. This one's got a little wear on the cover and a few little light scratches. Quality label. Plays very well. I think the title track refers to both sides of their music. They have some serious kind of pop rock of the time, and also the kind of goofy English music hall parody things like they were known for. Herman's Hermits, actually a pretty good album. Same time I found this one, The Best of Joan Baez. Not actually a greatest hits. This was sort of an unauthorized compilation or reissue of her debut album. Not really credited to her, but it was called The Folk Singers Round Harvard Square or something. It was basically a live set with her and some other artists. This appeared on the Squire label in 1963. I think she went to court and got this release blocked. But got some of her earliest performances, actually recorded in 1959. And also there at the same time, Uriah Heep, Demons and Wizards. Have this one already. This one is almost immaculate condition, much better condition than my previous copy. It's got some crazy inner gatefold thing where it's almost impossible to figure out how to get the record out. There it is. But excellent condition on this. Looks barely played. And also was another one by them, Sweet Freedom. So if you don't know Uriah Heep, kind of heavy early 70s rock with progressive influences. But the real choice piece that was there at the time was this one, the Wailers, Outburst. Now this is not to be confused with Bob Marley and the Wailers. These were a Pacific Northwest garage rock group. Apparently they're considered one of the earliest garage rock groups. Excellent condition on this one, United Artists label. And just a mix of kind of snarly Rolling Stones style rockers on here and some more slower songs. I've seen these guys' records around in stores before. I've never checked them out. They go for not crazy money, but a little bit of money, but just excellent condition on that. Stoked to find that one. Excellent album. A few more reggae finds. Brand new reissue out of Japan. Dub Store Records just put this out very recently. It's Africa Iron Gate Showcase. Various artists compilation of productions by Prince Hammer, aka Barris Simpson. Recorded album or two for Virgin Records. I think he was one of the very earliest reggae artists signed to Virgin Records in the 1970s. Very rare Deep Roots album of his productions. He does a few tracks on here. There's also George Nooks, who's had a very long career. Trinity on here is a big name, as well as more obscure artists like Echo Minot and Enos MacLeod. Deep roots music, and kind of in the early 80s, early dance hall sound, with rhythms laid down by the Roots Radix. So heavy, rub-a-dub. Couple more reggae finds just to wind up here. Tribesman, Street Level. It's a UK reggae group out of London. Not a whole lot of information about these guys. This was their only LP. I'll give you a needle drop on this. Appeared on the Boa label in 1979, and they are in the UK tradition of a self-contained band, which was a bit at odds, or a bit different from the Jamaican tradition, where you had this floating pool of session musicians that would lay down the tracks, and then the vocalists would later come in and do their thing. In London, it was much more the rock style, where everybody plays their own instruments and records their own tracks. So they have a mix of smoother kind of pop and soul flavored tracks, as well as some deeper roots tracks. One of their songs that was issued as a 12-inch is called Finsbury Park, backed with a track I'm going to drop for you here called The Tribe, which is in a more heavy roots sound. That 12-inch was reissued a few years ago by Reggae Archive Records, where they reversed the track order and put the rootsier side on the A side and the softer song on the flip, as kind of a sign of how times have changed, tastes have changed. So this is The Tribe by Tribesman. Tribesman was led by Paget King on keyboards and vocals. He'd also played on Keith Hudson's Rasta Communication album, among many others. And this song is kind of a comment on the practice of trimming, or forcible cutting off of dreadlocks, kind of the same way the police would cut hippies' hair in the 60s. They try to kill off the tribe by cutting off the dreadlocks. Much more of a heavy root sound on this one. Kind of a mixed male and female harmonies, occasionally reminiscent of early Black Uhuru. Last of my reggae pickups, and the last find I'll share with you today. Was super stoked to get this one. Only ever had it on CD. It is the self-titled debut by Tony Tuff, which appeared on Island Records, 1980 I believe, largely produced by Yabby U. Heavy roots sound on here as well. This one's a classic, kind of a little bit under the radar. Apparently Island had so many reggae artists on their roster at the time it didn't quite get the promotion it deserved. But absolute classic. Tony Tuff still active today. So those are the finds I've got to share with you today, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks everybody for following along. Special note, this is my 3rd year anniversary video. Made my vinyl community introduction on April 8th, 2015, I believe. So 3 years in the vinyl community. It's been a great ride. Thank you guys for following, and cheers.